There, I'm Erin from Mrs. Beer's Language Arts Classroom, and I wanted to share one of the tasks that I'm working on today to gear up for back to school time. I had the chance to work in my classroom for a couple hours this morning. Now while my littlest is napping, I wanted to go ahead and organize my emergency sub binder. You might think you won't have an emergency during the course of the year, and it might not be a true emergency, but there may be a situation where you can't make it into school because of a sick child or some other situation that might arise. So this is why I go ahead and put this into place. So I take just a 1-inch 3-ring binder and I make sure I have it labeled. And this is something that'll stay on my desk for the entire year so that my teammates or anyone else, an administrator, would be able to walk into my classroom at any time, find it, and know exactly what it would be for. So I incorporate 3 things into my emergency sub binder. The first I call the essentials, and that's all the important things that someone would need to know coming into my classroom for the day. First thing that would be our daily schedule. So this one is not completed because schedules haven't been finalized, but it includes sort of the schedule of our day and then all the times where and when, where the students need to be actually. Next thing would be our special schedule. So depending on the day, the students or the sub know exactly where they need to be for that time. Class lists and seating charts, and then any sort of classroom expectations. I want to make sure I include them in this section so that someone coming in would know exactly who each of my students is and then where they sit. And I use seating charts for 2 reasons. One, so that the sub knows exactly who the students are, but also I keep 2 sets. One is for attendance. So in the morning when the students arrive, the sub can basically go from desk to desk and see whether or not that student is there. If they're not, gets an X marked on it, and then this gets taken down to the office. So a seating chart is a really good tool for simply taking attendance, because often we have our computers and the subs don't necessarily have that capability to enter that into the system. So having the paper copy there to take down to the administrative assistant is the next best thing. So, and then lastly, you want to make sure you include anything with fire drills or tornadoes or lockdowns or any other sort of emergency situation that could come up, because just like you didn't think you were going to be absent that day, emergencies come out of nowhere. So just having some sort of information letting the substitute know where students need to go in those situations is essential, because those things do pop up. So that's the essential section. My next section is basically my lesson plans. So I like to keep a read aloud that I may be doing, since obviously it's back to school. This is a read aloud that will be taking place, that I keep it in here just as a reminder that that's how we start our day with our classroom meetings. And so that's one of the things that I want to incorporate so that the sub will know exactly what book to start the day with. This is just a template of what my lesson plans looks like, but obviously this will be completed and filled in so that there is no question what is going to take place during the course of that school day. And then lastly is the work that the students are expected to do. One of the things that I love to leave is our readers' theaters, because my students are highly engaged, they love them, they get to perform, and they are essentially facilitating. They're in small groups, they're reading through the script, and they are completely engaged in what they're doing, rather than seat work, which can be a little bit tricky to monitor for the sub as well as stay on task for the students. So I typically leave readers' theater with very thorough directions, and then a script for each student that they'll have the chance to look through, decide the character that they want to be, and then I have procedures for how that gets implemented. Once the reader's theater's been read through, the students will have word work, because that's always incorporated into my language arts classes, some sort of reader response, and then journaling, writing, different components that go along with that particular script. I leave enough work so that my students don't have the chance to get bored and potentially cause any sort of issues that wouldn't necessarily arise if they had more to do. The last thing that I think is so important for us to leave as teachers is an answer key. So any work that you're planning on doing with students, make sure that you leave an answer key, because depending on what time they arrive, they may not have the chance to get through everything and make sure that they know all the answers. So leaving an answer key just gives them one more tool for success for that particular day. In the back, I just leave additional work. I'm going to take this out. I just organize this so that depending on the time, I have all these different sets of tools ready to go in my binder for my emergency sub plans. So if you are looking for one more way to get yourself organized for the school year, get your emergency sub binder together, because what I can tell you is that on a Tuesday at 3 a.m. in October, you're going to wish you'd done it now. I hope you have an amazing school year and no emergencies, but if one does arise, now you're prepared. Have an awesome rest of your summer.